Hey y'all, I'm a new fan to hardcore punk, and that means I've got some learning to do. And that's why today I am thrilled, because today I'm talking to Roger Moret from Agnostic Front. And he's going to tell me all about the origins of hardcore and metal. We're going to talk about what he thinks of today's hardcore bands, how the genre has changed over the years, and why it's so relevant today. Episode 243 of Heavy Metal Philosophy starts now. Roger from Agnostic Front, welcome to Heavy Metal Philosophy.
Thank you for having me.
It's a real pleasure to have you because I'm a longtime metalhead that's only recently gotten into hardcore. So to have on one of the pioneers of the genre is a real treat.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Well, metal hardcore kind of walk hand in hand, when it comes to aggressive music, and a lot of it, we kind of all look similar in some way, whether it's long hair or short hair, and we're kind of all outcasts of society of some sort. So it walks hand in hand.
Yes, agreed. And it's really interesting to me right now, and I really want to get your perspective on it, because it seems to me like right now in 2025, hardcore is experiencing not only a resurgence, but it might be more popular than it's ever been. Would you agree with that?
I completely agree with you. There's an explosion going on right now, and you hear the bands, for example, like your Knocked Loose or your Turnstile, for example, Scowl. All these bands are blowing up, which is cool. Like these are people that grew up with us, and we lighted the torch, we passed the torch, and they're doing their version, their interpretation of stuff we hold to our heart, and they're all great people, and it's really cool to see it explode.
Yeah, I can't believe it. They were Knocked Loose was on Jimmy Kimmel, which would be basically the equivalent of if you guys would have been on Johnny Carson. It's just I never would have imagined that would be something that would happen.
I never would have either. I remember that happened shortly after I just saw them. I saw Knocked Loose here where I live with my daughter. She's a Knocked Loose fan, and they were playing with Slipknot. She loves Slipknot too. So it was awesome to go there, hang out with everyone. And then shortly right after that, they did that Jimmy Kimmel thing, and it was awesome. The Jimmy Kimmel thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm blown away by it. When I was a kid, any form of extreme music, I would have never have thought that they would be on late night TV, have a big slot at Coachella or anything like that.
Yeah, it's definitely something's buzzing.
I really think that there's something going on in society right now that makes hardcore resonate the way that it resonated in the 80s, because everything seems really wrong right now. Whether it's political or even entertainment wise. In entertainment, everything seems so contrived and, I don't know, manufactured. And so I just think it's really ripe for hardcore to be a thing right now.
Well, yeah, I totally agree with you on that. There's so much going on, man. And so, where a lot of it comes right off the kind of really the tail end or the beginnings of the pandemic. People started spiraling in all different ways, and the internet plays a lot to do with that too. So things have exploded. People have exploded.
Yeah. What would you say is probably the biggest difference in the scene now versus when you guys were starting?
Well, there you go. Like I just mentioned before, the internet, that didn't exist. And in a way, it takes a lot of the intimate part of the scene, because the scene was very intimate, very personal, and you kind of knew everybody. You definitely knew everybody that was within the scene. And as you were traveling, everyone you met, it was kind of very intimate, very, very personal. Of course, now that we have the internet, you lost that, and it's got its benefits, and it's got its, it's downfalls. And I think you lost a lot of that. You see it. You go to a show and people are more busy about recording something with their phones and actually enjoying the moment and the time. Like, just experience the experience and just feeling it. So there's the really the big difference. But it is what it is. It's today's world, and it's a valuable tool in a way. It's also a valuable tool in pure destruction in a way too. So it's take everything in moderates.
I agree. I always tell people, like, get your little 30-second clip or whatever so you could post on Instagram. Hey, I was there. And then put that
put
thing
your damn
away
phone down.
and
Enjoy the show.
Yeah, record it with your face.
Yeah.
So one thing I wondered about was, you guys came from the New York scene, and then of course there was the UK scene. And now with the internet, it seems to me like the regional scenes don't flavor the sound as much as they used to. I can't hear a new band like Code Orange or somebody and know, okay, that's where they're from by their sound.
Well, that is definitely something that's very true. But there's a lot of bands too, and it's kind of you're like the first person that's actually has mentioned it, and I always mention it. It's like bands had distinctive sound. You kind of knew or felt where they were from. Like if Agnostic Front was from another place, let's just say we were from some suburb in Los Angeles or whatever, we probably would have never sounded like the way we sounded. We're a product of our environment. And so is Minor Threat, so is SD Control, so is Negative Approach, so is Black Flag. You know what I mean? So is the Dead Kennedys. We're all products of our environment. And we were all like, we had all our kind of unique sounds. And of course, as it grew and got bigger, like there's only so many ways you could play three chords, if you know what I mean. And then there's a lot of newer bands. But there's a lot of similarities in sounds, and that's where it gets lost in the mix. You're trying to figure out who's who, what's what. So some of the bands are being very, very creative, and the three bands we just mentioned earlier, that are kind of on the explosion platforms, have their own creativity. They've created a certain different direction with the same message, which is cool. And as far as regional sounding, I don't know. That's a tough one right now, when it used to be very relevant regional sounding bands.
That's interesting that you put it that way, because that's like the flip side of it. Like, oh yeah, there's always this urge to have nostalgia and think about what you lost, but the flip side of it is now the genre has a lot of freedom. So I read that you guys kind of got a little bit of pushback back in the day when you started incorporating crossover and thrash into your sound. And to me, in 2025, that seems like a quaint idea, to be mad at a band for being crossover.
But honestly, you're right about that. But it's funny because the little pushback we got, and then you think about all the people that did the little pushback we got, they all did the same thing. They all did the same thing, like I like to say, we were always like on the forefront of stuff. Like even our new record, for example, it's very relevant for its time. It's also like a collage, a catalog album of everything we've done, but it's also very fresh sounding. There's always something, we're kind of ahead of something, in some way, you know what I mean? So when we did do it, like that second album, that was a crossover. So everybody was crossing over. Everybody, Slayer, Metallica, Anthrax, Agnostic Front, Corrosion of Conformity, Crumbsuckers, Leadway, Chromax, we were all just borrowing from each other. Because then again, like I tell you, we all loved aggressive music, and there was so much more similarities than there were differences, so it was a collective kind of gel. And that particular time when Cross Alarm came out in 1985, kind of the tail end of 85, or the very, very beginning of 86, it was recorded in 85. And if you think about, go back to 1986, the biggest records of all crossover in all times was 1986. Every album from 1986 in that genre was a monster. So it was a very important year, though some people were like not understanding it. As soon as it clicked and a lot of bands were putting out their records, everybody's like, wow, we get it,
Well, that's a great transition. You talked about how the new record sounds fresh and relevant, and I couldn't agree more. It starts with Way of War, which Man, I've been really loud about being anti-war ever since I was in college. You know, I grew up, I was a baby in the 90s. And it's this weird thing where I grew up in a time of peace, and and I felt really optimistic in the 90s. Like, I'm about to go to college. You know, I'm about to chase the American dream. And then 9/11 happened. And then, you know, the housing crash happened. And now there's a pandemic. And then there's today's political environment, which is really crazy. And to start the record with Way of War, it reinforces something to me that I've had to learn. Like, I think the 90s was an anomaly. I think history and society has kind of always been this way. Mm-hmm. Every generation has had these huge historical moments that they've had to live with and grapple with. And the Way of War it has been kind of consistent throughout all of these times.
I mean, I agree with you. Like, we've been talking about since our very first single, United Blood. We have a song called No War. You know, I mean, it's like, who the hell wants war? Honestly, you know, that song in particular, you know, that song is, you know, it's about corrupt politicians and their greed, how it pulls us into, you know, into these wars and other senseless wars. And, you know, and they don't really care about the unfortunate casualties of civilians. They don't care. It's all power struggles and you know, unfortunately, innocent people die. So that song is just a basic statement on that. Like, we don't really like to cover a lot of heavy political or world political stuff. I like to speak about stuff like what I call social political stuff, like stuff that happens around me on a day-to-day basis. But you can't ignore that. You know, it's you know, it's a general statement. Like, look, we're getting pulled right back into the same old shit, and it always happens. And this is it.
Agreed. And then the next song, Matter of Life and Death, have another New York legend on their, DMC from Run DMC. Now you will see another side of me, the one not hidden from society. How does that kind of collaboration come together?
That was a very organic collaboration. Daryl loves Agnostic Front. I think we're his favorite hardcore band, pretty sure. He loved our film. We had a film that was out on Cinemax for a couple of years prior to 2020. It was called The Godfathers of Hardcore. It's a beautiful documentary film. It's very different than your traditional music documentary. It's really, I advise people to go back and see it. It's called The Agnostic Front, The Godfathers of Hardcore. It's incredible. You don't have to like the music to like this documentary. Cinematically, it's beautiful. It's very different. And he loved that. He always said, hey, Roger, you know, we were living parallel lives. You know, we were out at the same time on the streets. You know, we were doing our hip hop, you were doing your hardcore, but we were saying the same shit, man. You know, like, this is parallel, you know, let's do a song together. You know, he's always was encouraging me, and he had a song, but we were kind of busy on a tour, and I really, like, we're writing a new album. I told him, Daryl, I said, we're writing a new album, let me get through this and then I'll come back to you. And then when we're writing a new album, we wrote this song. We're like, man, this is perfect for Daryl, let me send it to him, let's see if he wants to collaborate on this one and jump in on this one. And when he heard it, he said, oh man, I would love, that's it, that's the one, let's do this. So I did my part, sent it to him. He came into the studio and really in 2 takes. He didn't need to do the second take. He freestyled it, did it, boom, you know, to let him know what the lyrics were about, and he killed it. So when we were done, he was like, man, when are we doing the video, man? Let's do a video. I said, you want to do a video? He goes, yeah. So we just shot the video. It's coming out Tuesday. It's incredible, right? So the video's done. And then still, he's like, yo, when are we going to do the song live, man? Yo, Stigma, when are we doing the song live, you know? And I said, you know what? It's Stigma's birthday. We're playing Irving Plaza in New York City, his big 70th birthday bash. He goes, you want to do the song there? He goes, I'm there. We're doing it, you know? So he's just excited. He's a good dude, man. He loves metal, hard music. I mean, follow him, King DMC, follow him on Instagram. You'll see, you know? And that was a natural collaboration that was kind of meant to be. And there hasn't been anything like this since, you know, your collaborations. Like, I mean, Run DMC did one with obviously with what's the name from Aerosmith. And then another really cool one was Anthrax when they did it with Public Enemy, you know. And then there was that album that came out with all the bands doing like collaborations. I forgot the name of that album. I can't remember right
Yeah,
now.
I know which one you're talking about. It was a soundtrack.
Right. And there hasn't been anything like this in a while. So it's kind of cool. It's like I said, again, refreshing, you know, it's like, and it comes off in a different way where you can see Daryl's showcase in a very hardcore way. He still has got his cadence and he still has his flow and his stuff, but he's stepped into our level. And that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to like show that, you know, his style here, you know?
Yeah, that was very cool. And I didn't read the press release before I started listening. So as soon as his voice came in, I was like, oh man, that's the coolest.
Yeah, he knocked it out, man. He did a great job.
And then there's another song called Divided, which I think also really rings true today. And I'm curious to hear your perspective on this one because
That's
I feel, I'm sorry,
well, I'm gonna hear what you say, but that's a big one. Go ahead.
I feel like today we've more divided than we've ever been. But I'm always cautious about stuff like that because somebody else might say, well, it's always been this way. It's just you're living in it now. So, you guys were pioneering this thing during the Reagan years. So I wonder if there's parallels there or if you agree with me that now it seems like we're more divided than ever.
Well, now we are more divided than ever. And again, a lot of this has to do with the internet. One more time. You know, people are so like locked into the internet and reading stuff. A lot of stuff, I don't even know if it's real anymore with that AI stuff. It's out of control.
Right.
It's completely out of control, you know? And then it's funny you mentioned this song. Divided is one of my favorite songs. I love the song, period. And the metaphor of our record cover is based off Divided the song. And it's based off of one of the lyrical content where it says, spill the blood of the innocent. That was what created the album cover. And it's pretty much, you know, it's and if you see the album covers, you got that kid who's blinded, and the message behind it is like he's so blinded by cause and beliefs today that he's either he's so stuck to his phone and not doing all the research or whatever, or he's just gung-ho with his opinion that he doesn't even realize that the flag he's holding behind him is on fire. And that's what's going on. People are so gung-ho with opinions and all this stuff and destroying friendships, destroying stuff. And the flag's on fire behind them. They don't even see it. Whether some of it is valid, of course, you know, some people are, you know, there's some real shit going on. I'm not devaluating stuff, but I'm just saying, you know, it's so controlling. And that's what they want. They want you to be in fear. The government wants you to be in fear because then the good old government is going to come and save you. And it's been that way since you said the Reagan days, you know? So it's just a matter of that control item, which is your phone. I got one here too, you know what I mean? And if you're stuck to this all day, you got problems. Put it down, enjoy a lot of different stuff. Go fishing, go take a walk. Just, you know, go reconnect with people in person, you know, and it's a valuable thing that needs to happen before it's a very lost cause. And it's already in a lost cause. It's already in a bad situation. You know that. I know that.
Yeah, it as a concept, I've understood it for a while, but it really got put into sharp relief for me when Ozzy died, because I saw so much AI bullshit about his death, pictures of him and Sharon in the hospital and stuff. And I was like, as somebody who knows, I was like, this is bullshit. I could like, what are y'all, why are y'all sharing this? But I'm certain that millions of people who saw that post believed it.
Yeah, that's the
and it
problem.
Makes me wonder about politics too.
That's the problem with AI, and it's gonna if something's got to happen. It's dangerous because like soon you don't even need a band to you can make anything up, and now with the chat GBT and stuff, it's almost better than it's like robots more intelligent than anything you can think of. So it's a dangerous world we're living in. And again, I encourage people to try to step back and get back to some kind of a human relation. You know what I mean? I know it's hard. I mean, humans have in the past 5 years have showed me like, God, it's what horrible humans are out there,
Yeah.
But I think it's time for us to like kind of try to come back. And man, like I tell you, like there's destructive tools out there and people are falling into it.
Yeah. And so I want to close with two questions. It's a very poignant record talking about exactly that, like what's happening in modern times. So I found it kind of refreshing, the song Sunday Matinee. It gave a nice upbeat, fun song to kind of break it up a little bit. And let's just jam, let's just slam, have a good time with this music. Was that
Well,
intentional or is that just a song that you had to put in there?
that wasn't intentional. It's just natural, Basically, Sunday Matinee is it's upbeat and catchy, just like you said. But what's behind it is it embraces the energy that we bring live and in our live crowd setting. Like when you come see Agnostic Front, you feel it. It's very catchy. You want to sing along. You know you're in a good place. You want to belong to something that feels real. And that's what that song is all about. It's about making friends, coming to a show, making your lifelong friends, and meeting new bands and stuff like that. It's an anthem for us, like something that we truly stand behind.
And the closer seems like an anthem to me too. Eyes Wide Open. So you've got this really scathing social critique, and then Eyes Wide Open is like this defiant song. The that stand out to me is Eyes Wide Open. I won't break my stride. No, I'm sorry. Eyes open wide. I won't break my stride. So I think that's a great closer. It's like, hey, yeah, all this
Well,
stuff, but I won't break my stride.
yeah, well, here's the thing. Going back to the initial um, intention of the band's name, agnostic, meaning in doubt of the absolute truth. Look it up. That's the actual definition. In doubt of the absolute truth, unless you see it with your own eyes. So, and then we've used that logo like this many years. Like you see some of one eye, see with the other eye. The other way is not wide open. And then when you see it wide open, then you discover the truth. But it's something that, to me, I feel like you have to go out and witness and see it. You know what I mean? Like there's so much being fed to you. I don't even know what's real anymore. Like you said, we don't even know anymore. But that was the meaning of the band's name. Front meaning more than just a band, a movement. Like agnostic meaning question authority, question everything until you can make your own decision based on your facts. And that's not going to be the same decision everybody else made. One of the things I noticed in my autobiography that came out in 2000, I think 18 or 19, called My Riot, I noticed, and I sent a part to my daughter's mom so she could read it. She's a professional. I wanted to make sure she was okay with everything. And then she came back to me, whatever notes, whatever. It was cool. And then she's like, you know what? It's funny because we remember things differently. And it never clicked to me. Like it's true. Like you could see this. Me and you could witness the exact same thing, right? And what you remember, what I remember, some of it could be similar, some of it could be different. And as time goes by, it gets even more different. So you have to understand that, like, that is a natural human thing, like it just blew my mind. Like she remembered it a different way and I remember it this way, but we're both in the same spot. So it's funny what we each take from it.
Speaking of books, you also were involved with a hardcore historical book called With Time.
Correct.
How
That's
did
my
that
new.
come about?
Well, for example, we had the film, The Godfathers of Hardcore, which is beautiful. Ian McFarlane did an amazing job. I encourage you all to go back and see that cinematically. It's one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen as a documentary. And I'm like, man, and then my autobiography just came out with about the same time. It was like hand in hand, and it was more in depth of my life. So I'm like, I have all these artifacts. I'm a record collector. I save everything. And then people were like, when they saw the movie, they saw me open this trunk and pull stuff out. Like, man, you got some really cool stuff. So I decided during the pandemic, start putting things together and decided to make like this artifact type of book. And this book basically on agnostic front, pre-agnostic front, starts in 77 and it goes to like beginning, right smack beginning of 1986, the most intimate times of the band's history or in music, you know what I mean? In general, I feel. And it's in chronological order. And I want it to be a beautiful book that you go page by page and it tells the story visually. There's only like 7 little minor chapters because it's visual. It's a visual story you're being shown. And then in the middle of it, I kept a diary of our first tour. And then you read through the diary and you can feel like you're with us. So I thought it was something really cool and different to do. And at the same time, a beautiful book, like a coffee table book, something you want to like look through, scroll through, and just, and it's really done in this beautiful chronological order. So you can see the band's development through the years till when we go on that last tour, beginning of 1986, we're about to do the tour with GBH. So I encourage you, if you guys like it, it's go to like With Time the Book on Instagram or something like that, withtimethebook.com, and you could pick it up. It's on its 3rd edition right now. It's about to be on its 3rd edition. First and second are sold out. There might be some second, but check it out. It's something I put a lot of time and dedication into it.
I'll put the link to the book in the description so everybody can get it, because a lot of that stuff from the underground was lost to time. So it's really nice to have this historical document. And then looking forward to the present, November the 7th, Agnostic Front, Echoes in Eternity. Everybody make sure y'all get that. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. It was a real pleasure, and good luck with the release. Oh, and you guys are on tour as well. So make sure you go to the Agnostic Front links in the description so you can see when they're near you. December the 11th, I think you're going to be in Atlanta. So I'll try to make that. Thanks again, and good luck with the release.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you.